Now, broadcasting from deep within your stepmom's basement, it's the Echoplex Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Downballot. We do this show live most Tuesdays at 7:30 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. You can support this project by going to echoplexmedia.com, clicking the support link at the top of the website, and from there you can make your own decisions. I'm producer Dave, and you can find me on Grindr.
With you as always, Bruce Dave. This is the Councilman. You can find me up on Blue Sky at PJ Allen TWO. You can also find me on the Facebook thingy. Still Hansel Man. So if you see me out there lurking, just know it's me. Hey. These days you can also find me up in a new gig on the day side. So earning a living in a more respectable way these days and not selling myself on the street anymore, just selling myself to the man or the woman, as the case may be.
Very nice.
More to come on But more to come on that for later.
Chat was wondering if your new gig was nude, but
that would actually be cool. I would love to have a nude gig. If anyone is offering nude gigs out there, I'm more than happy to. Although, as as the bad baby likes to point out, I do wear a sweater when I'm not wearing a shirt. So maybe that's not the best thing for your garden party if you're trying, especially if you're trying to like raise money or do something like respectable.
Speaking of nude gig, we had to push the Sunday show to Monday this week, so I did it last night, and we ended up watching a video where people who do a nude gig, sex workers, were arguing with the NoFap movement on this thing called Jubilee, and it was terrible.
Oh, lovely. Were you nude while you were doing the show?
We were just watching it.
No, okay, nude. So you were not personally nude.
Absolutely
okay.
No.
Is
not
it,
on this website.
Yeah, are there ground rules? I don't know about, is that Twitch rule or is that Echoplex Media rule?
Oh, I don't... there's no nudity on Twitch.
Oh, okay. So they would shut us down pretty quick. Well, what if you were like just like if you were you didn't have your shirt on? You said like in this shot, right? You just said you were nude. I mean, I don't have any way of knowing for sure if you're.
I don't know.
Although if you're wearing the tinfoil hat, I suppose you're wearing something, so you're not nude.
Just the hat. That's what the people on Grindr are like. Well, would you leave the hat on?
We got to protect from the contrails.
So, what do we got for leading off this week?
Oh, so many things to choose from. Actually, it was a fairly light week as far as local politics or local elections go. We're still a week away from the San Jose special election in District 3. Not a whole lot is happening on that front. So thought we'd take a look at sort of what's going on nationally, but from a more local perspective, as we like to do. And so leading off, we're going to take a look at the Marin County GOP, a very robust organization, I'm sure, and how they decided to celebrate the Army's 250th birthday locally while Donald Trump had tanks rolling down the streets of Washington, D.C. in front of empty bleachers. Oh,
real quick, did you see the video of the tank that was like squeaking and you could hear the tank squeaking because there was no audience? Did you see that video?
Oh my, no. I have to go back and watch though. It just the visuals alone of like the robotic dogs walking past just literally empty bleachers. Like there's no one there except for like the tight shots of the president and his his little entourage. Like that's it. Like that's really the densest the crowd got.
Oh yeah, he was. I'm sure he was pissed.
Yeah, no, I mean that's entirely his thing, right? That's why we'll talk about it in a second, but why these protests, everyone wanted to make them very big, right? So that we could show off the size of our crowds. Anyway, so this is how one of the local GOPs is in a area that's not entirely red, if you know what I mean, decided to honor the president's wishes.
Up in the North Bay as Indivisible Marin held protests at 20 different locations in Marin County, there was a different side of the coin, a local celebration of both the military and President Donald Trump's birthday. Our Sujinam was at the morning's pancake breakfast in Marin County.
It's a pancake picnic party here in the North Bay as members of the Marin GOP gathered at Civic Center Lagoon Park to show their support for President Trump and also celebrate the Army's 250th birthday. Dozens of members of the Marin GOP showed up bright and early to San Rafael on Saturday to celebrate President Trump and the Army's birthday.
Let's just have a breakfast. Let's have something. Just come out casual, let people talk, get to know each other.
John Turnicliffe, the head of the Marin GOP, says his Republican neighbors are feeling optimistic about the Trump administration.
Everybody I talk with when we're out.
Yeah, that one lady looked like she was about to get deported, though.
Everything you expect from President Trump being elected, I would say I'm getting everything.
I think John Turnicliffe took her to the station.
Now, this is a kerfuffle going on now that I don't understand all the dynamics to really.
I absolutely love what America stands for. I believe it's worth fighting for.
Julie Zeller, a member of the Marin GOP, has also been following recent developments of protests against the Trump administration.
I definitely agree in free speech, and that is one of the beauties of our Constitution and what our founding fathers gave us. I absolutely agree with them voicing their dissatisfaction with how things are going. I do not agree with any violence whatsoever.
She, along with other members of the group, say they're feeling energized and during times of tension in the political climate, want to find solutions of unity, not division.
I'm taking these with
Frank Joulard, Marin GOP treasurer, agrees.
I'm a believer that it takes two wings to fly a straight course. You need a right wing and you need a left wing. And right now we just have a left wing and we're going in circles on a lot of it.
The county says they will continue to show their support for President Trump nearly 3,000 miles away.
Shut the fuck up.
I mean, E for effort on the analogy. I guess A for analogy. But no, sorry. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what he's talking about. Even in California, where we're in a supermajority situation in the state legislature for the Democratic Party, the ostensibly left party, and we have the governor's office and all the statewide offices. Even here, we're not exactly like some sort of what everyone thinks we are, some sort of bastion of extreme. I won't say extreme, just progressive, right? Values, true progressive values. So, but I understand members of a local GOP, the extreme minority party right now, feeling a little bit boxed in and just needing to, break out and get a little feisty, have some pancakes, and get that syrup going, maybe some caffeinated coffee.
Those people are all in bed by 6 p.m.
Yeah, more than likely. More than likely. But that was I think that's pretty good turnout, honestly, for the Marin County GOP. That might be like all of the members of the Marin County GOP, but still, kudos to them. And Democrats would probably be poo-pooing like the pancakes because they were, not gluten-free. I don't know.
The pancakes looked okay. The bacon was a little soggy.
Yeah, I definitely like a crispy bacon. There are some people who really like the soggy bacon. I don't get it. It's just like, just warm it up. It's like, no. I need that hard, like brick, like brittle, it just breaks apart as you're trying to pick it up kind of bacon. That's my thing.
Almost burnt, like.
Yeah, like you can easily make it into bacon bits for other things, right? If you don't want to eat all the bacon, you could have it on your salad or in your butternut squash soup, for example. Anyway, that's another show entirely. Although I don't know if Ecoplex Media has a cooking show, but we'll have a down ballot cooking episode. We'll share recipes from local politicians. Yeah, we'll get local politicians to share their favorite recipes.
So we're going to move on to winners and losers here, where there usually are no winners unless you were rooting for, and if you're rooting for somebody, they certainly aren't winning. But I think our first story seems like a winner.
Yeah, this is stemming right out of the last episode or the last clip we just watched, and this is the sort of the other side, the contrepartie that one of the GOPers, the young lady, was speaking about her respect for their opinion. So now we're going to hear their opinion. Okay.
From the air and the ground, thousands of people could be seen taking on their city streets to join the No Kings Day protests across the Bay Area. No Kings! In San Francisco, tens of thousands marched from Dolores Park to City Hall Saturday morning.
San Francisco came out in force. They felt like they had to show up. They couldn't stand on the sidelines anymore.
Adam Sheehan is one of the organizers behind the group Indivisible San Francisco.
America, California, San Francisco, we will stand up and peacefully protest against the powers that be, but trying to make a president a king.
The same message rang through the streets of Oakland.
We had over 10,000 people today in Oakland. We are one of over 2,000 protests across the country with over 5 million people, we think, out on the streets, all united with one voice, saying that we are in opposition to President Trump.
A group of at least 3,000 people took on the streets of Dublin, a larger number than organizers expected, motivated by the Trump administration's plan to reopen a prison that was closed last year.
Ours had the theme of no kings as well as what we said, no dungeons. So we added that theme to it as well, because in Dublin there is a federal prison that ICE wants to reopen as a detention facility.
Groups in Santa Rosa, San Mateo, Corte Madera, West Marin and Walnut Creek joining what became the largest single-day peaceful protest in recent American history. Many attributing the peaceful factor to the fact that they started marching in the morning, as well as their collaboration with law enforcement agencies.
The people that want to start agitators normally show up later in the days. We've noticed along those lines.
In San Francisco, police officers were seen blocking several streets during this demonstration.
A lot of it was related to crowd control, really tracking the movement of people across the city, diverting public transportation as necessary.
At the city's emergency services building, city departments worked closely to stay ahead of any agitators.
Would you say that today was a success?
Yeah, absolutely. It was overwhelmingly calm. There was a sense of community, and I think for the most part, it was a really good day in San Francisco today.
In San Francisco, Luz Peña, ABC7 News.
It's almost like the news was mad that nobody broke any windows.
Yeah, have you seen I don't know if it's a meme or if it's just a photo, what you want to call it, a photo that's been going around, but there's a shot I just love of, it's like a single public trash can turned on its side with a tiny little fire burning inside it, and this phalanx of photojournalists and reporters, quote unquote, all taking a photo of the same singular trash can, right? And that's the image that gets run with the story, right? When maybe that was the only trash can that was even on fire. Maybe they set it on fire themselves. Who knows?
They probably set it on fire themselves to have something to fucking take a picture of, right?
Right. Oftentimes I find we've done this show for many years, right? And oftentimes I find at least that the local news just, they show up because they're expecting something, off or negative or something that they can spin, something exciting and enticing will happen. And sometimes it just hits with a dud for them. It's great. I think this is great. This is wonderful to see this coverage of the greater, Bay Area and how we've all come out and not just focused on one city, because there were plenty of stories about singular protests. But I thought we should show the full breadth of it. But also just, it shows that you can tell, right? They were hoping for it. They would probably prefer there to be some sort of kerfuffle, some sort of counter protest or, vandalism. But these guys were smart. Like they said, let's do this during the day. Let's do this in the open. Let's coordinate with law enforcement, do all the right things. And it turned out well, right? It's when you're not so organized that you allow an opening for the agitators, you allow an opening for the carpetbaggers and the astroturfers and just the plain people who just like to pull shit and use these kind of opportunities to pull shit, right? Who are not representative of your movement or our movement or whatever you want to call it. So they did it all right.
Not for nothing either. This is different because it was planned and one of the things is that it wasn't in response, put together in just a few minutes in response to people getting kidnapped in their neighborhood. Because if people start getting kidnapped by ICE in San Francisco and Oakland, protest ain't going to look like that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And
as well, it shouldn't, right?
And it hasn't. And most of most of what we've seen as far as the really incendiary stuff out there and protests out there have been in the wake of very specific incidents, right? And we could go into detail there, but anyway, the long and short of it is, we are seeing the people rise up, and the studies show, history shows, shall we say, that when you're facing autocracy, when you're facing fascism, when you're facing dictatorship, which is pretty much, we're not there at all yet, right? We're nowhere near that. Why? Because 5 million people stepped up and got into the streets and said, fuck no, this is not who we are. And elections are the ultimate decider, right? Elections have consequences, but we won't have elections if, people stop stepping up, because these folks will this fucker and all these people, all of his minions will just run roughshod over all of us. And it's trickling down as we see on this very show. The reason why I think these are important too, to talk about how we're reacting to the national scene. We're seeing these values, these MAGA Doge values trickle down into our local politics. And we've talked about that a lot too. So it's important to make those connections and to see and read the writing on the wall, right? And to see that no matter how someone might talk about compassion and needing to do something and act and common sense and all of that. Read between the lines and see what's really being proposed, and then you'll understand people's true colors. That's all I'm going to say.
Fantastic. Well, what do we got next?
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, building off of the last story, actually, so in sort of response to what we've seen in terms of counter protesters counter protest work that's been going on with law enforcement, particularly federal law enforcement, some lawmakers or legislators from the Bay Area are working on a bill that would pretty much make those folks, make police and make the folks who are enforcing the law have to show themselves and identify themselves. We're going to learn more about it from KPIX.
For federal agents to unmask themselves. We've been seeing ICE make arrests across California, and that includes here in the Bay Area. Now, some state lawmakers want those officers to take off the masks and reveal themselves. Our Kevin Coe has more on the new ban that they're proposing and why local law enforcement is against it.
As protesters clashed with federal agents making arrests at Concord Immigration Court last Tuesday, our cameras caught this exchange. East Bay attorney Ali Saidi pushing the agents for information.
We're just asking for badge numbers. So we report to the San Francisco Division of the FBI. Okay. You're more than welcome to call the San Francisco Division's office and ask for the folks that are here today. We're just assisting ICE and this law enforcement operation.
Ew, shame.
One of many other protesters in the crowd would later chime in.
That's so Concord Walnut Creek.
Identify themselves.
Ew.
ICE agents and other law enforcement officials have been seen wearing face coverings during immigration raids, as well as the recent anti-ICE protest in Los Angeles. State Senator Scott Wiener says the secrecy is adding to the fear spreading throughout communities.
It is tearing apart communities. It's causing chaos, and it is a growing problem.
He and State Senator Jesse Arreguín introduced Bill 627, named the No Secret Police Act, aimed at increasing transparency and accountability among law enforcement. If passed, California would be the first state to prohibit state, local, and federal officers from covering their faces while conducting operations. It also requires officers to be identifiable by their uniform, whether it's a name or a badge number.
There are a lot of people who are engaged in these enforcement actions, and we don't know, are they federal, are they contractors, are they local law enforcement?
This is a very normal thing when San Francisco police officers, when you see them walking around, they have their name, they have their badge number, and that is a typical normal practice for law enforcement, and we're seeing that practice start to fade away. We're really at risk of having effectively secret police in this country. Police, law enforcement that you can't even identify who they are, what agency they're with.
Officers who don't comply could be charged with a misdemeanor.
The feds are just going to ignore it. And then what?
Former FBI agent Jeff Harp says some federal agents need face coverings for tactical purposes.
I mean, that's like saying that you're going to make federal law enforcement use a weapon that's on the California approved list to carry out the duties of their job. They don't do that.
Last week, Secretary of Homeland Security.
That's not what they're saying, but that's okay.
The face coverings as necessary protection for law enforcement.
People have questioned why they have their faces covered. It's for the safety of those individuals or the work that they're doing as far as protecting their identity so they can continue to do investigative work.
Republicans say the mask can prevent law enforcement officers from being doxxed when their home addresses or other personal information is shared online. The bill is also getting pushback from local law enforcement.
Go to Washington. It's not something that the state of California has to deal with.
Lieutenant Tracy McCray, president of the San Francisco Police Officers Association, says it unnecessarily targets local law enforcement agencies who are under state sanctuary laws that prohibit them from participating in immigration operations anyway.
To me, it was hastily written. It was written from a very emotional standpoint, right? Because yes, no one wants to see anyone dragged off the street, right? And you don't know who by what, but we're not doing that. Right? That's not the San Francisco Police Department.
Harmeet Dillon, the Assistant Attorney General for the Justice Department Civil Rights Division, responded to the proposal today, saying that states can't regulate what federal law enforcement wears. Meanwhile, another federal proposal would prohibit ICE or Customs and Border Patrol agents from wearing any clothing with the word police. North Bay Congressman Mike Thompson, one of the sponsors of that bill, says local law enforcement have asked for the change. He says suggesting that ICE officers are members of local police forces undermines their relationship with immigrant communities that they serve.
So I don't like the FBI guy, but he's like, who's going to enforce it? Like, who the fuck is going to enforce this? Nobody. Even if the law exists, who's going to, local cops going to go out? Like, no, they're not. The local cops are fucking almost every one of them is probably, first of all, like sympathetic to ICE and probably thinks that they're fucking colleagues.
Sure. Oh yeah, no one's going to, and there's really no way to enforce it. It's a state law that, or at least to enforce it regarding federal, law enforcement. And those are the folks really that we're talking about here that are trying to hide their identity because they're doing shit that people don't like. So I have so many emotions, as they said in the story, about this particular story. First of all, I want to point out that Harmeet Dillon, the assistant AG or whatever, is a former California Republican Party chair. So coming at this from a very specific perspective. No one's going to enforce this rule, but I will say this is something that is necessary and should apply to all law enforcement, and they shouldn't be able to get away with even with this excuse about being not wanting to be doxxed, right? I'm sorry, like you are a public employee, just like every other public employee. Your salary, your job description, everything is public and is posted and is shareable and should be, because you're spending our money. Like our money is paying your salary, right? In some way, our money is ensuring that you have a job, public money, and that's a trust. And so you need to be part of the trust. You need to show your face, right? And you need to be known to us as a public servant, regardless of the nasty work you're doing. Now, you don't like the work you're doing, don't go fucking work for ICE, right? You know that it's shitty. You know that you're doing awful things. You know that you're tearing apart families, and you don't want to deal with all the bullshit. Then don't go work for ICE. It's a very fucking simple solution. There are plenty of security and other private companies you could work for. There's other law enforcement agencies you can work for. They're hiring. San Jose police are hiring. Come work for San Jose PD. They want to hire you. Are you a cowboy? Come on down. They want to hire you. There's no reason to do it in the first place. I'll say that right away. So I don't have a lot of sympathy for the folks in ICE, but I also don't think this law is going to do anything. What I will say is this: when the councilman got shot with rubber bullets, projectiles, whatever you want to call them, pretty much big ass aluminum canisters with a rubber tip, twice at fairly close range. It was at night, and the body cam footage that they were able to collect, and any footage they were able to collect, my attorney could not identify which specific cop shot me, right? If anyone, if they could have in the first place. Because of that, I couldn't sue the city for that. I could sue them for knocking me around because they had that captured on body cam and it was clear who did it. But because they couldn't tell me, they couldn't identify the person, it was dark. Not that they were wearing a mask, but it was dark. The exact cop who did it, they couldn't guarantee that I wasn't hit by projectiles shot by someone other than a San Jose police officer.
Oh, get the fuck out of here.
I am not even fucking kidding you. So I couldn't press charges on that. And I ended up with a settlement, and it is what it is. But it would have been I guarantee you I would have gotten out a lot larger out of that if I had been able to press on that, but I couldn't. The judge, we didn't have a favorable judge, to be honest. We had a shall we say, a MAGA judge, a Trump era appointee on the initial consideration, and they threw it out. So that personally, I think we should know who you are. You should be, especially because you might pull some shit in your public capacity, right? Some illegal shit. And maybe the only way to find out is to review the evidence, or for us out there in the community to know who you are, right? And to be able to identify you. So I'm all for this, but I don't think I agree with you. It's not going to have any impact.
I imagine there might be like carve outs for like really specific types of work, maybe, but I don't think crowd control is one of those. In fact, I think crowd control would be the one where you don't want that.
I would hope so, right? Although, during this episode, I mean, maybe At first, I thought maybe they're just concerned about spreading COVID and a rehash of all that again, right, or some other diseases. So maybe they're just trying to be do a public health good, or maybe not.
No, I don't think so.
No.
I feel like it's the main thing here, because we covered a story on yesterday, not Sunday, yesterday, where somebody went somewhere pretending to be ICE and fucking harassed people at their place of business. They weren't, they were impersonating law enforcement. So, being able to identify the person is really good, because then if they don't identify themselves, you fucking assume they're not the fucking cops.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But speaking of which, the last bit of that clip, I'm completely on board with that. Like making sure that ICE can't use police on their unis, right? Because that absolutely does. I mean, as much as I have very declining respect for all law enforcement, that does do a disservice to local law enforcement and to police who are, especially in like San Jose, San Francisco, most Bay Area cities, they're not sanctuary cities, whatever you want to call them, where the police do not want to coordinate with ICE for that, for one, a lot of reasons, but for a very big reason, in that they want to maintain the trust of their community. And we we live in a predominantly immigrant community here, so it's better. It's really a disservice to them if ICE goes around flaunting the word police, because regardless of whether or not you are police, there's a connotation to those words, right? There's an understanding, a meaning that everyone has everyone understands behind those words.
Right.
So
people
I do
assume
think
it's local. It's the local PD.
Right. So I don't think that I should be able to use any kind of uniform, wear any kind of. If you want to wear a mask, fuck it. I think we'll get away with it, but you shouldn't be able to wear a vest that says police, because that's just screwing over your local law enforcement, who are probably not involved in the operation that you're running at all, right?
But I think maybe there's a way in which, for like ICE specifically, it might be in their interest to undermine what tenuous relationships there are between the local city government and the immigrant community. Like that might be like in their, it might be in their interest to do that, I think.
In the larger sense, yeah, and especially right now, if they're serving at the pleasure of the administration, right? The entire point of all of this, yes, it's tearing up a lot of families. I don't think they'll get anywhere near, deporting every single undocumented person in America, because it would just, the sheer volume and work and hours it would take to do all that, and coordination. But this is all for fear. It's all fear mongering. It's making anyone who is thinking about coming to the States afraid to do so, no matter how bad the situation has gotten there where they are.
Well, oftentimes because of the United States.
Right. Maybe sometimes folks or U.S. inaction a lot of the time, right? And discompassion, compassion. So that's what they're doing. They're trying to instill fear so that no one wants to come here, right? And we'll just stay the way we are forever. But it's too late. Like that's what they don't understand. It's the train has left the station, the plane has flown, or the bird has flown. And this is the country we are. And this is probably the country we were always headed towards being, given the founding principles of our country, no matter how they were arrived at or by whom. And so no matter, he tries to trample on them, and eventually, the whip strikes back. So. And
I mean, not for nothing, another reason, I think they picked LA in a lot of ways because they know the people don't trust the fucking pigs in LA.
Mm-hmm.
They don't trust the LAPD, and they especially don't trust the sheriff's department out there. For good reason, because the sheriff's department's just out there is like, they're a gang. That's all they are. They're a fucking criminal gang. There's been so much reporting on the LA sheriff's department basically just being a criminal fucking gang with government approval or whatever. So that should come as no surprise that they chose LA and maybe not Oakland, maybe not San Francisco, because we have our problems here with the police too, but there's been no reporting about, for example, the Alameda County Sheriff's Department just being a criminal gang.
Yes. Right. The gang with badges.
Right. So, we'll keep an eye on this. I think that that LA is going to continue to be the way that it is. And I don't know that really that ICE has the resources to go to many more places in the kind of force that they are like in LA. Like, I don't think they could do LA and New York City at the rate they're doing LA simultaneously. I don't know, but it seems like that would require a lot of like, infrastructure and people that they might not have, because I'm not sure that that's a popular job to get.
Yeah, I don't imagine that they have the kind of bandwidth and human resources to be able to pull off their ultimate goal, at least not in some sort of expedient way, right? But they've also kind of like put themselves out there with the crew, right? All their voters and their supporters, and saying, I'm going to get this done now, like tomorrow, right? It's going to first day one, we're going to do all this shit. And none of it's coming to pass. And so the chickens will come home to roost eventually. The question is going to be, who do they come home to, right? It doesn't necessarily swing back to the Democrats or the progressives or whatever you want to call it. It could just be to some other autocrat, some other plutocrat, some other oligarch, some other
fucking
rich
Matt
playboy.
Mahan.
Fucking Matt Mahan. Governor Mahan, right?
President Mahan.
President Mahan. It could happen in the next 4 years. There's a governor's election next year.
That's my prediction, actually. I think that Matt Mahan may skip the governorship and try to run for president.
Go for prez. I mean, hey, stranger things have happened. Mayor Pete, right? Mayor Pete was just a mayor at the time, right? Or a former mayor. That was the highest level he'd been to. So, hey, anything's possible. Now he's apparently the front runner. if you took a poll today of the Democrats, Mayor Pete is the front runner. Who knows?
I didn't like him much, and then I think he did a stellar job. I think as the Department of Transportation head, I think he did all indications are he did a great job. I don't know. I wouldn't vote for his ass. Fuck that. But I mean, I like him a little bit more now. I hate him less, or whatever. I suppose.
There's no gay loyalty there. There's no gay loyalty there at all.
No. We hate each other more than other people hate the gays.
Right?
I got to tell you.
go, talk to women. Same situation, I think.
What do we got next?
Hey, we're gonna shift gears a little bit here, both location wise and then subject matter. We're gonna dig into San Jose and the housing issue. And so first up, we're going to learn about what the city is doing to quote unquote clean up one of their largest encampments and what the repercussions might be from that from NBC Bay Area.
One of San Jose's largest encampments got much smaller today. Crews spent much of the day sweeping out people living near Columbus Park. It comes despite big objections from advocates for the unhoused. NBC Bay Area's Marin was there, and she was the first reporter there as crews got to work.
You can see here that city crews are tearing
Throw a brick, lady, throw a brick.
Shelters, taking down tents. About 200 people are estimated to live in this encampment, and many tell us they now have no idea where they'll live next. As city crews began tearing down makeshift structures, those who live here near Columbus Park scrambled to grab their belongings and move out.
They told me that we got 10 minutes to get our stuff out.
Todo lo tengo allí y ya pues empezaron a tirar a todo.
Mario Hernandez says he lost his livelihood in the sweep. He says the merchandise he sells at flea markets is now gone, leaving him with only the few items he was able to quickly stuff in a trash can. An estimated 200 people live here, some say for several years. Now they find themselves once again on the move with no clear destination. Sean White, who's among the unhoused, tells us he's recovering from back surgery and dealing with other medical issues. He says watching crews destroy his home is frustrating.
I've lived here for 2 years and I'm going to be downtown on the sidewalk like everybody else.
In an interview last week, San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan said the city would do its best to help those displaced during the sweep.
We abate encampments for public safety reasons all the time. We can't always offer housing or shelter.
Wait a minute. Hold the fuck on. You know what I'm going to say, don't you, Councilman?
Maybe, but go ahead.
Isn't he proposing fucking some legislation that says that that you either accept housing or you go to jail, and now he's fucking saying that there isn't housing for these fucking people. Like, you haven't used the bell in like a year, man.
Yeah, I know. I found it recently.
This
That was
asshole's
perfect
fucking
timing.
talking out the front of his mouth and the fucking side of his neck at the same fucking time, dude. Oh, you better accept the housing, but actually, if we clear your encampment, I don't know where you're gonna go. We don't really got nothing for you. Oops, sorry.
But Producer Dave, it's in different stories, right, and on different nights, so people forget, right? They don't make the connection, right?
I don't even fucking live in San Jose anymore, and I remember.
Yes, like,
That's my
and that's
job,
the thing.
though.
And people absolutely listen. They, is everyone a Mensa scholar? No. But are voters, are people generally dumb? No. Even an elementary education is enough to understand the hypocrisy that we're looking at here, right? And that's why this story makes me want to just scream. It's like, good, not the story itself. Like the encampment, he's right, actually. They sweep encampments all the fucking time, and they have nowhere to send these folks all the time, right? And so that is the reason why we keep why they feel the need to keep sweeping, because where are these folks going to go? They're just going to go from one place to another because there is nowhere for them to go. We have created a situation where they have no place to go. And it's regardless of whether they're drug addicted or have behavioral or mental health issues, or because most of them are some of them are working, some of them are working multiple jobs. Some of them have been, just one medical emergency, one, unfortunate workplace incident away from, losing their home. And it happened,
Yeah, like homeboy that said he had a back injury. It's not great for your back after you're recovering from an injury. Being homeless,
sleeping in on a bag on a street, right, or on a rock somewhere, or on a curb. Our mayor Ed 209 came from humble. He did come from quote unquote humble upbringings. I think his mom was a teacher, and his dad, I forget what his dad did, but he came from Watsonville. He came from humble upbringing. And went to a fine Catholic institution in San Jose on a scholarship where they taught, young youth, and they teach young men to be, it's a all boys Jesuit school. They teach them to be men for others and compassionate leaders, right? And so all he does is try and couch these policies that would arrest these people he's talking about who have nowhere else to go. We're being compassionate. It's for their own good. Right. It's for their benefit that we're doing, that we're arresting them, that we're putting them in, we're getting them into a treatment program or some other program that they don't want to be in, and forcing them into a situation they don't want to be in, and forcing their hand and not listening to them. Right. But that's what he's couching it. And that's what all his supporters and other friends who in government who went to the same institution, learned the same values, are just flipping it around and just letting it serve their needs. And I was shudder to think what happened if Matt Mahan just had to spend one night on the streets of San Jose and had no other options. Right. I wonder if he might begin to understand if he had zero other options, if it wasn't just some sort of performative shit where I'm going to go stay in an encampment tonight to see what it's like. If he really was out in the streets, I wonder how long he would last. I wonder if he would have the same I wonder if he came back, would he have a changed perspective? I don't know.
Coordinate large abatements with offers of shelter and other services.
The city says it plans to add.
He just what the fuck? He just did that whole thing. Just did a fucking switch. Come on, man.
Without those beds available now, many here question why they're being removed now.
It is just really very frustrating because, like I said, we mind our own business. We don't cause no trouble.
Once the sweep is complete, the city plans to turn this area back into a community park with soccer fields and picnic tables. They're also turning their sights toward another nearby encampment. This section of Columbus Park is expected to be swept by the city next month.
Homeboy is already sweeping up.
NBC
Right. It seems like they're sweeping already. Like, I got a genius idea. Like, provide these folks with like amenities, like garbage dumpsters and potties and portable sinks and if we're really worried about like the threats to public health and the community, like what are we doing to actually just give basic support to folks who like that's their home. They've chosen to live there because there are no other options. And I think we need to do some serious reflection, or at least not we, our fucking leaders need to do some serious reflection about where we're at right now and how we got here, right? And just really understand what the situation is, and just start to provide the basics to folks. Like if we did that much, if we started to do that much and stop the sweeps for whatever reason they're going to, put upon it, and we just took a different approach, I would love to see what would happen. Right, we've just never tried it. We've never done that. We've never attempted that because there's just
solutions are hard and long term, and they take time, and it takes more than an election cycle to like see the real like positive results, and we can't do that.
Yeah, and it takes public will too, and it takes doing creative things and trying new things, such as next clip, please. So San Jose has been has a policy around, or not policy, but an initiative around converting vacant motels and hotels, or underutilized hotels, motels, into temporary or interim housing, right, for folks. So as much as everyone's crying out, and Matt Mahan and all his voters are crying out to do something and help the homeless, there's a limit to what they want to do and where they want to do it. And we're going to find out about that in this next clip from ABC 7.
A new push to tackle homelessness in the South Bay has neighbors pushing back tonight. San Jose could turn a motel into a shelter for women and children. But not everyone is happy about this. ABC 7 News reporter Lauren Martinez spoke with neighbors who say they feel blindsided.
Plans are moving forward to convert this boutique hotel into a homeless shelter for women and children. Bristol Hotel is in San Jose. Directly behind it is Considered Campbell.
The problem being is that none of us knew until a week ago. Nobody. They say they sent out letters. We didn't receive them.
Lynn Ferguson and her neighbors are Campbell residents. Last week, San Jose Vice Mayor Pam Foley held a community meeting where they learned about the plans that appeared to have been in the pipeline for a while.
Nobody would answer the direct question. Is it a done deal?
The Bristol Hotel is one of 5 motel properties the city's housing department has secured to convert into temporary housing. On Tuesday, City Council will vote on 2 items: the extension of the homeless shelter crisis declaration and on a third-party provider for these shelters.
There will be 24/7 security. There's going to be a security guard at the entrance. Each family will have their own private room and bathroom.
The Bristol Hotel has 47 units with 66 beds. Homeless women and children will be able to live here for up to a year. No rent, meals provided, and services on site.
It's transitional. It's not permanent, but it's the right step.
But residents who live nearby say safety is their biggest concern.
But there's going to be the husbands and the boyfriends, and they're going to try to get in. They're not supposed to be allowed in, but I don't think the security will be there.
Thank you, Karen.
Come in. There will be too many cars on the street.
Oh God! The cars in the street that unhoused people own because they have the mom with the kids.
There used to be traffic associated when there was a fucking hotel. Oh my fucking God!
No, because people who stay in motels don't have cars per se. They just walk up to the motel.
These are the people who live in Campbell who I've never seen because they didn't go out to no fucking Campbell Avenue after 5 p.m. because they're like, it gets rowdy there.
You can go out after 5. I would never go outside after 5 p.m. Good Lord. You could get assaulted. You could get accosted.
Housing to address what she says is a humanitarian crisis.
There's a lot of fear, but after about 6 months, after they move in, they're not even going to know they're there.
In San Jose, Lauren Martinez, ABC 7 News.
Well, hopefully they do know they're there and they like meet some of them and like fucking the people are like fucking, they like, oh, this woman who lives in this hotel, she's a nice lady. She's fallen on hard times. Maybe, honey, let's invite her over for dinner.
Imagine that, like building community. Although I do want to give it up. We'll take a moment to give it up to Vice Mayor Foley here, because she's typically in the mayor's camp. She's typically a more conservative and neighbor. I would call her a next door kind of a council member, right? Responding to that crowd a little more. But she's right here, and she held ground and said, "This, staff's right. This is a good project. This is, we need to do this. This is the right thing to do. This is all in line with all of our values and our priorities." And she made the case to the residents who, yes, those 3 ladies standing on a corner, and God forbid, like, there's some neighborhoods in San Jose where 3 ladies standing on the corner constitutes a riot because they're absolutely,
that's Campbell
they're
too.
absolutely, they're absolutely plotting something, right? But in Cambrian, it's just like, it's pretty much Campbell adjacent.
Yeah.
So I give her props for standing ground, supporting staff's work and the decision here and the council policy and everything that they're doing, because it's very easy. It is very easy to succumb to the NIMBYs, to succumb to the loud voices, and to to try to backtrack and basically undermine a lot of the work we're trying to do as a city, as a society, right, that we've all kind of agreed to ostensibly, on a project by project basis, simply because people are whatever, they have their concerns because they live, I don't understand really. They're concerned about family, like homeless families moving in to a motel that was probably only used by like vagabonds and sexual
I like how they
workers,
called
right?
it a boutique motel. Did you hear that at the beginning?
It's basically like sex worker, hot spot, which is fine, all good. But yeah, I think I'm with you. I would hope that this project it is going through. By the way, they did vote unanimously today to approve it, so good on the city council. Primarily because the vice mayor supports it, and council's not going to go against their local, sort of local rule, right? If a council member for the district supports something, you're not going to see a massive opposition. So good on them for doing it. And I would much rather see that community building like you're talking about than just like just ignoring it or not knowing that they're there. But I'll take sort of getting over it and not knowing it's there, as opposed to just being a part of the problem, right, and preventing it from happening.
For nothing, it looked like it was pretty dense where they were at, and I wonder if the sentiment, like in that housing development, is represented by the people that you saw, or if most of the people in that who live in those look like condos, right? They look like condos or something. If most of the people who live there either don't care or are like, okay.
Yeah, no, I doubt it. Like condos like that, a lot. What you'll see is folks that have been, shall we say, our vintage population that's been around for a while. They're living on fixed income, but that's their spot. Like they downsize to that spot, right? But they've been in the community, quote unquote, or in the neighborhood for many, many years, and they'll always say like, I came to Cambrian 40 years ago, or I was born and raised in Cambrian, or my and that always prefaces something about
they're just pissed that they don't live in the cool part of Campbell, I think.
Yeah, right, or Dub G, right? Yeah, that I don't want to say it's representative, because you've also got a lot of folks who are like more are working class, just families like the very families that are going to be moving into this site, who are kind of teetering on the edge, right? Like that seemed like what a lot of that surrounding housing looked like. So I'm good on the council for approving this. I'm glad it's going through. Shame on these people for being stressed about like women and children, right? And the one thing, the boyfriends and the husbands. I take offense to that, man. I take complete offense to that. It's crime
as a
is
former
committed.
boyfriend and probably never going to be someone's husband, I take offense to it fucking too. Fuck that.
Right.
Fucking
right.
I'm going to go join the manosphere because of what we just saw.
And what about the girlfriends and the wives of the moms, right? Like, come on, let's be inclusive.
Yeah, some
here.
of them might be lesbos. What the fuck?
Right? I mean, come on. Or maybe they just realized after the whole thing went down that it's dick is not the way. I really I am. It's like I can't be shocked, right? I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised that these folks are opposed to this shit, and that my neighbors are so up in arms about housing women and children, because like. It's up at the peninsula in Palo Alto a few years ago, the citizens, quote unquote, did a referendum on something the council passed to support or to build a senior housing, right? The council had approved a senior housing project, and some freaking recall, inspired group did what they call a referendum campaign and gathered signatures to overturn and eventually vote to overturn
like assisted living for seniors.
Yes like affordable housing and assisted like in-house right on-site supportive services for seniors, just because it was like 5 or 6 stories or something like that on El Camino, right? Like but they won, right? And the people voted it down. So I can't be surprised. It's just so goddamn frustrating with everyone at every turn, right? We're trying to do something. Even the mayor says he's trying to do something, and this, and these folks are trying. The same folks that voted for him are saying, "Don't do this because it's in my neighborhood, and God forbid there's more cars." Like these single moms with kids that can afford a car. Okay.
I like that. I like that the city council can kind of just be like, well, I don't know. You can't fucking vote me out because you live in Campbell. Fuck you. Like,
right. And Pam's
build that shit on the border. Build all of it on the border of other cities. Fuck it. Because Campbell's done their part on housing, but they ain't doing nothing for the homeless. So fucking build it all right next to Campbell. Fuck it.
Yeah, why not?
Borders Los Gatos in a few places. Fuck yeah, build that shit. Put that shit right up against Los Gatos and Saratoga. Fuck yeah.
Ironically, in another planning land use decision that didn't get a lot of pub, there was a 17-story housing project that was proposed for Heading and Winchester, pretty much on the border of Santa Clara. Right. And the city of Santa Clara came out against it, and other, neighborhood folks came out against it. It was pretty inappropriate for the neighborhood. I will say this much, because it's not, the neighborhood was not ready for it, but the city across the way said, no. And it's almost like I want to say, fuck you. But at least Santa Clara is doing their part. Like, they are a really well managed and planned city. So they are doing, at least enough. More than San Jose. Anyway, so rounding out the trifecta here, there's a corner actually near the Good Wife and I in our neighborhood where there used to be a Burger King, and lots of things have been proposed for it. Nothing's really gone through until a commercial venture came along and got tacit approval from the city, and that was the point when the neighborhood rose up and said, "Oh no, we don't want that. We want the housing." But then again, who knows what would have happened? They just
don't want anything, right? Anyway, we'll see what's going on here because that looks like San Jose approved a Chick-fil-A. And I just got to tell you, Chick-fil-A, everything that's happened over the years, if you just change the name of a few of your stores to Chick-fil-A, I'll forgive it all. I'll forgive it all.
I think a lot of folks would. I think they'd probably attract a lot more of a crowd, at least for that first try, right? And once they get you in the door and you try the chicken, maybe, they'll get you, even if it's for the chick-on-chick action. So why don't we take a look at what's going on from ABC7?
In the South Bay, plans to open another Chick-fil-A restaurant are moving forward. San Jose approved the project to be built at the intersection of West San Carlos and Race Streets. It came after considerable concern from the community that the opening of this restaurant would result in the closure of several small businesses. But ABC 7 News reporter Lauren Martinez explains the city made a surprise move to calm those fears.
Ooh, surprise.
Plans for a new Chick-fil-A in San Jose are moving forward, but with conditions. On Wednesday, the city approved the fast food chain's permit to build on this prominent corner, West San Carlos and Race Streets. It's near the Alameda.
The project proposes the demolition of an existing commercial building.
In February, we first told you that
Taqueria Eduardo is hella good.
Yeah, it really is.
That's home to 2 longtime small businesses. On Wednesday,
they make that fucking the Camarones a la Diablo. Oh my fucking God, dude.
From members of the public.
It's disingenuous for Chick-fil-A to claim to bring jobs when they're eliminating existing ones.
And from a Chick-fil-A representative.
First of all, our proposed restaurant will generate hundreds of thousands of sales tax dollars annually to support the municipal growth of the city of San Jose.
That's true.
Our average unit volume of our restaurants are $9 million.
The project would be a Chick-fil-A
money.
without a drive-through like their locations in Emeryville and Walnut Creek. Ultimately, hearing officer Sylvia Doe said she will approve the permit with a change.
However, not approving the element of demolishing the existing building.
We spoke to Alex Shore, co-founder of Catalyze Silicon Valley, who listened in on the virtual hearing.
Genuine surprise.
Shore has been advocating this blighted parking lot could be turned into mixed housing, not a single-story fast food chain.
Just last night, the San Jose City Council turned down a multi-story housing project on Winchester and Heading that our members were supporting. So I think The city needs to be more focused on outcomes and not so much process.
I just spoke with the owner of Sharper Cuts. She's been here since 1992. She said the good thing is her landlord told her she would be given a 6 months notice, whatever ends up happening here.
Who knows? An appeal may get filed.
Chick-fil-A has until June 23rd to appeal the city's revised permit approval. According to the proposal, construction could begin in March and end in October of next year. In San Jose, Lauren Martinez, ABC 7 News.
Good on the city for fucking being like, okay, you can do this, but please don't displace these two or three businesses that are here. Not only are they like businesses that are there, but Taqueria, like, I don't know if the nail place or the hair place is like a place where a lot of folks in the community have gone for years, but I imagine it has, because that's a tough business. And if she's been there since 1992, that means that there's she has a lot of customers from the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that Taqueria, dude, oh my God.
Yeah, they're legit. They have another location on Bascom, not too far from here as well. If anyone wants to try number 2, it's in a kind of more depressed community even than this. So please check out Taqueria Eduardo, either location. Yeah, but I think this is probably the best result you're going to get in this situation, right? This property had been vacant and left to rot for years. Yes, it had been proposed. Someone had proposed some sort of mixed-use housing development at some point, but it wasn't going to get financed. It wasn't going to come to fruition. And it's been like a decade. I can't remember when this Burger King closed, but I've been looking at this vacant lot for the longest time, looking at the old Burger King just sitting there before they demolished that, right? So nothing was happening on this lot. Nothing that was generating any kind of anything for anyone. And so as a former planning commissioner, as someone who's had to consider these kind of things, I get it. Like I'm an activist. I'm a housing advocate, for God's sake. I would absolutely love to see a mixed use housing project there. That's what the general plan of the city kind of envisioned for that site, but it's not sacrosanct. And if I was Chick-fil-A and I had spent millions of dollars to acquire this property, more than likely, right? Millions of dollars to put all these plans together that fit, the code and the zoning and everything else. And I'd made the concession that we're not going to tear down that existing structure and we'll let them stay. And we'll figure out how, and we're not going to have a drive-through. We conceded not having a drive-through, which most Chick-fil-A's have, right? There's only a few that don't because of the unique nature of this site, right? Much like that In-N-Out site in Campbell, right? That was once proposed. That would have been much better without a drive-through. Maybe it would have been a little better without one. But they've made a lot of concessions. So if I'm Chick-fil-A and I've spent all that money and made all those concessions and the city told me to fuck off on what I want to do on my private property, like the property I own, yeah, I would sue the fucking pants off the city, to be honest with you. I would sue the shit out of them. So I'm not saying anyone's hands were tied. This is also just being the devil's advocate, the best you're probably going to get in the next 20 to 30 years from this site. I don't see anyone stepping up to do anything else. There's already a development next door that's going to be partly affordable housing, senior housing, lower income housing. We're getting a lot out of this corridor. We don't necessarily need this site, and this is what they want to do with their fucking property. And that's the world we live in. That is the world we live in. We live in a capitalist society based on property ownership. And that at the end of the day, that's what we have to deal with. So I think this is it's going to be a benefit net. And I am glad that Taqueria Eduardo gets to stay if they so choose. We'll see what the deal.
Hopefully their new landlord doesn't jack up the rent on them.
Well, yeah, I mean, Chick-fil-A is now their new landlord, right? So we'll see what happens there, right? Like, do they get forced out and then eventually, and they close down, and then it's okay to tear down the building, and they come back to the city and say, hey, we can't find a tenant. It's really hard. We need to take it down and build more parking lot. I don't know what they envision that building turning into, because if you look at the site and you look at other Chick-fil-A sites, it seems like there's plenty of space for a parking lot in the Chick-fil-A without tearing down that building. So I don't understand what the point there was in the first place, other than they didn't want to be landlords to anyone other than themselves, right? And it's just an easier thing to add 10 more parking spots and forget about the local business. But you're right, the barbershop or the salon has been there for a long time, is frequented by a lot of regulars locally. This has caused a kerfuffle on both sides, on a lot of sides of the next door community, let's just say. And it's like there's some people that are just pissed about the small business, displacement, and not so much about the fact that it's going to be a Chick-fil-A as opposed to housing, right? Or there's Alex, who's in his group, who is more about like it should be something bigger and grander, right? But also not displace the businesses somehow. So everyone wants to get the ideal, and the truth of the matter is that the ideal never materializes. So you have to do the best you can with what you get.
Okay, well, this next story kind of got some national attention, and I think this is very down-ballot-y. This is, as you would say, this is a very down-ballot-y story.
Yes, very much so. I saw the headline. I haven't even watched the clip thoroughly yet, so this will be news to me. But the headline alone screamed down ballot. So let's just run it.
This is great.
2 former Caltrain employees have been sentenced to jail time after building and living in secret apartments inside Caltrain stations on the peninsula. ABC 7 News reporter Tim Johns looks at how these men were able to pull it off.
2 former Caltrain employees were sentenced to a collective 6 months in jail this week. Both men were charged back in 2024 with the felony theft of public funds after they embezzled money to build secret apartments, one in the Caltrain station in Burlingame and the other in the nearby Millbrae station.
This is why I say to people, never say you've seen it all, because something like this new will come up.
San Mateo County District Attorney Steve Wagstaff tells us the men lived inside the apartments for several years. In total, they spent over $40,000 building them and even had things like office spaces and living rooms inside.
What's an apartment?
Public money that is being stolen by a public employee.
Wow.
That takes it up a level.
Both men followed.
I don't think he's getting recalled anytime soon.
To create the apartments. How it worked.
Ooh, nice muscle shirt.
Contractors to remodel former office space, but kept each invoice under $3,000 so that they could be approved. Caltrain was unavailable for an interview.
Wow.
Sent ABC 7 News a statement which reads in part, "The misuse of public funds for private use is a violation of the law, Caltrain policy, and the public's trust. In cases where there is evidence of unlawful conduct by an employee or a contractor, we immediately act to rectify the situation." Outside the Burlingame Caltrain station Friday afternoon, many passengers were shocked to learn what had been going on.
Now I'm looking the building. I want to know what kind of furniture he has.
It's like, I don't know, could I move in there?
What kind of space you got? Is it for rent now that he's going to jail? Is it available?
Are there pergo floors?
Yeah.
Bill Crowmer tells us he takes the train about once a week. He said he never had any indication someone was actually living there.
And I'm surprised that nobody else noticed as well, so he obviously kept well under the radar for everyone.
Caltrain was told to keep the apartments as they are while the cases were making their way through court. And even though they were relatively simple, they'll likely leave an impression on many here for quite some time.
Maybe once in a while in life, people can do these crazy things. I think
I fucking love her.
In San Mateo County, Tim Johns, ABC 7 News.
I'd fucking rent them out. If everything's up to code and shit, fucking rent that out. Fuck yeah, make some money for Caltrain.
That's the most basic thing about why it's just not code. Like these buildings are not zoned at all for someone living there. Oh my God, the ganas to do that, to just embezzle the money. And not just like, so I saw the headline. I'm like, okay, so these guys are like, they're public employees. They're down on their luck and they hatch this idea to like build a place where they can live in a station, right, in a hideout, and, just somehow make it, keep it a secret. But like, getting requisition orders of like $299,000 each to like actually build the place out, right, and get these things done and build it using public dollars on top of using public facilities.
The balls.
God,
right?
my God. I mean, I would be totally down if someone proposed like, hey, Caltrain is one of the biggest land and property owners in the Bay Area. They've got this excess land, or they've got these land at these stations, or they've got these station houses that are like outdated, like, the Burlingame station, right? It's nice. It's historic. Everyone loves a good train station, but the idea of a big train terminal in Burlingame is kind of, even Millbrae, right? It's kind of outdated, the train terminal. We've got all this space. Why not convert it and use it for some public good? I'd be totally down for that, but like jacking the money and just going ahead and doing it and having your little like private your whatever private resort at the station. I love it at the Burlingame station. She's like, I wonder, where are they? Like, what kind of furniture do they have up there? How nice is it? And like, where is it? Is it in that tower? Like, I can kind of understand how you get away with it, like just getting in and out and just the practical logistics, because if you're a Caltrain employee, especially, no one's going to question you if you just walk through a doorway, right? And no one knows where the hell that doorway goes in a station, right? It could go to your apartment. It could go to a storage facility. It could go to a security desk, whatever, or your office. So no one's going to question that. It would really be like your fellow employees. So you'd really have to have, like, I think you would have to have some sort of complicity and shared shelter or shared residence agreement, maybe, or maybe it's like a what do they call it? A timeshare. It's a timeshare apartment, right? So whenever, like, maybe it's not for like folks who are down in their luck. Maybe it's like, you just want to get away, right? The spouse is on a bender or something, and you don't want to be around them or whatever. The in-laws are in town. Want to get away for a weekend. Use the apartment, right? But it seems like more like someone nested there. Like, this is someone, like, these two employees were living in these apartments. But there has to be some.
I wonder
complicity.
did the first one tell the second one what they were doing, and they're like, I should do that at Millbrae, actually.
Oh, it's a good idea. It's a good idea. Shit. I don't know. Like, they hatched the idea somehow together, either chicken and the egg, or all together, or sitting around a campfire or dinner one night. So it seems like they informed each other somehow, or each of their projects informed the other somehow, whether it was causality or correlation or just simultaneous. Anyway,
which one was nicer?
I don't know. That's a good question. Millbrae station is in more of a built-out environment. There's there is a mixed-use housing development around the Millbrae station. I'm sure you're familiar with it, Producer Dave. It's a transit rider, and it's more modernized. Whereas Burlingame is kind of on its own. Like, that station is just sort of plopped in the middle of a parking lot. So I don't know. I would want to say the Millbrae one was probably nicer because they probably had more, underutilized spaces, or maybe future spaces, right? That could have been used for something like this. But I don't know. It seems almost easier to hide maybe in Burlingame, up in that tower, if that's where it was.
Well, let's move on to get your shit together. It seems like we have another story about the park at the Sunset Dunes, where the old Great Highway was, and this is a vandalism.
Yeah, we'll just call this the recall watch story for this week. But the Great Highway, now known as Sunset Dunes Park, was again the target of vandals who just don't like parks, apparently. And we're going to find out more from KPIX.
Well, the park at San Francisco's former Great Highway targeted by vandals once again. Volunteers were cleaning up at Sunset Dunes after two major installations were damaged. The Ocean Calling art exhibit was destroyed last week. It is meant to be a quiet, reflective place with a phone booth for people to make symbolic calls to lost loved ones. Well, the artist had already fixed it before when we got there. However, we are told a community piano was vandalized over the weekend and is beyond repair.
They ripped off hinges and then tore the felt hammers off almost all of it.
Dude.
So,
it
just doesn't make any sound. It does something.
Fucking rude.
All but 10 keys were destroyed. Volunteers tell us while it's disheartening, multiple people have come forward offering to donate their piano.
Where else can you sit with a view of the ocean and play the piano like this and have neighbors stop by and say hello? It's such a nice thing for the community.
Sunset Dunes has faced controversy since the very beginning. Some neighbors have opposed the closure of the Great Highway to make way for a park. This is not the first instance of vandalism. Back in March, someone took white spray paint to a mural along the Great Highway the day after it was shut down to cars. Okay.
So I'm not confident that this is necessarily like politically motivated about the park. I think people are just assholes, right?
Yes. Yeah. And that's that get your shit together. That's why this is under that header this week. It's just like, fuckers, like, what are you doing ripping up a piano? Come on, kids. I don't care who it is. Like, I don't care what your motivation is. That's just silly. Like, vandalizing art, right? Like spray painting over a mural.
Right, even in the graffiti community, it's really looked down upon to tag over somebody's piece. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah,
like if it's just a place where there's tags, like nobody cares. But even like within that community, they do not like it if somebody takes the time to make a piece of art and then somebody fucking tags on it.
100%. That's why a lot of groups are just focused on like covering places with murals, right, and covering these vacant storefronts or just underutilized spaces with murals, so that the taggers won't necessarily have us want to hit those spots. And they work with local, and if you're really smart, local arts groups and governments work with local taggers, graffiti artists, right, and give them opportunities to use these spaces. So yeah, boo on you, get your shit together. Anyone who thinks that vandalizing art or instruments
or fucking piano, like I don't play the piano, but that,
right?
I would if I like lived in that place and I saw somebody play, I'd have a sandwich and listen to them play the fucking piano. Hell yeah.
Shit, yeah. In a beautiful park that everyone voted on and approved, that was once a space where cars just like sat whatever, either in traffic or vroom through your neighborhood and didn't pay any attention to your neighbors or who you are or what you're all about. So I don't understand. I don't understand the opposition to the park. Two, regardless of what the motivation was, you just don't. Why? Can't you find something better to do, even if it's not good, right? If you want to do some fucked up shit, like, can't you find something else to do other than like hurting people or defiling pieces of art? That's just so basic.
We only have one story here on the down ballot watch side. It's been maybe a slow news week. I think like the protests and stuff took up like a lot of oxygen.
They did. And this is not like necessarily about down ballot, but it's just a sort of the backlash, right? So elections have consequences, and we're seeing kind of austerity budgets and more of a Doge mentality in both San Jose and San Francisco now with Ed 210, pretty much the older clone of Mayor Ed 209. But now we're seeing some backlash to his austerity budget from the local legal aid community that's finding their budgets cut at a time when we should more than likely be helping them even more. So we're going to find out from NBC Bay Area what this is all about and who's supporting them.
Well, a very big speed bump today for the San Francisco mayor's proposal to balance the city's ailing budget. Today, a majority of the city's board of supervisors joined organizations that provide free legal services to some of the city's most vulnerable residents. To oppose cuts, the mayor says must be made to set the city up for future financial success. Here's NBC Bay Area's Sergio Quintana.
On the steps of San Francisco City Hall, nonprofit founder Adrian Tirtonati is surrounded by fellow legal service providers. Tirtonati has pledged to go on a hunger strike in order to convince city leaders not to cut $4.2 million from the city's next budget. Those funds pay for free legal services for some of the city's most economically challenged and at-risk residents.
I want to bring the suffering out into the open to expose what will happen to our clients and communities if this budget passes as proposed.
His goal is to get the attention of city leaders, and it appears he has. At today's event, he was flanked by 7 members of the Board of Supervisors or their representatives, meaning a majority of the board, that must ultimately decide if the mayor's proposed budget will pass.
This is a clear message that we are not going to balance a budget on the back of our most marginalized, most vulnerable community.
Defunding the organizations that do this work will only make our communities less safe.
And these programs, they make a real, tangible, but most importantly, a life-saving difference in people's lives.
Each speaker stressed the importance of help these nonprofit legal groups provide. Supervisor Joel Engardio says it's a smart investment.
No, recall watch.
Bigger budget hit for residents and the city down the line.
I have residents in my district who are housed and safe because of free legal aid for a variety of issues. They could be domestic violence victims. They could be facing bankruptcy. There could be legal fights in their family about who owns the home. All of these things, when things go bad in life, you could end up on the street.
This all stems from Mayor Daniel Lurie's efforts to close what his office describes as an $800 million budget deficit. This is how the mayor described his budget proposals when he unveiled them a couple weeks ago.
I want to be very clear. This is a painful budget, but I am hopeful and I am optimistic about our economic future here in San Francisco.
He says he will fully fund core services, including fire and police departments, in order to maintain what he describes as clean, safe streets. The question now is whether he has the support he needs. In San Francisco,
seems like no.
NBC Bay Area News.
Also, like there was a camera there. Where the fuck was Peskin?
Yeah, right. He's termed out. Finally, I think he's no longer on the board. So
doesn't mean he doesn't like a camera.
That's true. That's true. He should stop in there. And frankly, I am a little bit out of touch. I think with San Francisco politics, I didn't recognize, except for Engardio, any of those supervisors. I had no idea they were supervisors. So now I do. So great. But yeah, hopefully Engardio doesn't get recalled, because that would take it to a six votes, and it would still be a majority, but a little more tenuous one. The mayor, I don't know how it works at the city county level, to be honest with you, because the mayor does have executive authority in San Francisco. I don't know if he has like line item veto authority. So for example, these 7 supervisors could vote to reinstate these monies into the budget for legal aid. I don't know that the mayor can't just in a line item say no when he signs the final budget, right? I don't know that they can. Gavin can. The governor can do that. I don't know that the mayor can in San Francisco. So perhaps maybe the chat knows. But regardless, it'll be a battle. City of San Jose actually, good on, I guess, Mayor Ed 209, committed more money to legal aid specifically for immigrant communities in the wake of all the shit that's happening. So the city in San Jose is contributing $1 million additionally to that work in their budget this year because of some good council engagement and advocacy, but also a decision by the mayor to include it. So I will give credit where credit is due, somewhere near enough, but it's a start, and it's at least not a cut, right? So I think that, yeah, it's pretty clear that Mayor Ed 210 is going to have to do some conceding and some conciliatory action here to, I think they're going to have to spend some monies here, maybe not everything, but he's also going to have to make a concession somewhere else, because I think that work, that message, they've got a great brand, they've got a lot of support, so he's gonna have a challenge on his hands.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye on it. Maybe we'll see if the local news just drops the story like they do so many stories like this.
They get the stories because, like, these folks, like the legal aid groups, right, and the supervisors who want to be seen as they're the champions, they get the news because they get fed the news. It's not because they've got, reporters out there with a glass to the wall, right, or the door, listening into every conversation. Yeah, someone hits them up, pitches them a story, and then they run with it. And that's how journalism, frankly, has always kind of been. Right? You develop these sources and leads, right? And they come to you with stories, right? You develop relationships within the world that you're covering, the beat you're covering, and they come to you with stories, and you hear things, right? Because you're talking to them, and you're engaging with them, and they're relaying these things to you. That being said, a lot of what I find from local journalism now, especially, and just journalism in general, is that, okay, like in the past, you get fed that story, but then you do the research, you do the journalism, you find out, even no matter how fringe it might seem, the other side of the story, right? Or the official side of the story, or whatever it is, right? The counterpoint, and you tell that story too, and you give it all fair play, and you let people make up their minds. Nowadays, it seems like journalism is just run with whoever came to you first, whoever came to you with the story, run with their narrative, and then secondary is getting the take from everyone else. And they run with whatever people tell them, no matter who's talking to them. It seems like they don't do a lot of fact checking these days, right? How they frame
they're stretched to newsrooms are stretched, like they
completely
don't have the resources.
Completely. How do they frame it though? The reporter in that story, like the mayor frames this as an $800 million budget deficit, right? Like, what is that? Like, okay, so, but what is the deficit? Like, did you talk to anyone else? Did you talk to the budget office? Did you talk to other supervisors? How do they frame the deficit? Like, what do they think the deficit is, right? Because if there's no empirical number for what the deficit is, how can they be talking about how to close it? If they, and what would close it, how much money is needed if they don't know, if we can't agree on what that is. So those are the kind of nuances that like really tick me off. And it could be that the reporter did do all that work, but the way they're framing it and talking about it implies that they didn't do the work. Right. And that's unfortunate. Like people deserve to have the facts, but they also deserve to have the facts told to them in language they can understand, and two, consistent language, right? And accurate language as to what's happening. Like ICE on your vest as opposed to police when you're actually ICE, right? Like people are very smart, but they're going to go with what you present them, right? Like if you're presenting yourself as a resource for news, it's on you to be the news, right? To be factual and to have it all right, and not just, it's just another good story, right? Do the extra little bit, even if it means delaying the story, to make sure it's right? That's my frustration. Not so much that I wish they had more bandwidth. I wish they had more fact checkers, but I think there's just some basic journalism that's getting lost here, unfortunately.
Well, we're on to another thing, and it's sort of an animal. We'll call it, instead of an animal interest story, we'll call it an interesting animal story.
Very much so. I was incredibly intrigued by the story, and I can't describe it any better than the story itself. So we should just run the clip, and we'll see if there's much to talk about on the other end.
We've been watching out here at Grant Lake as park rangers from Santa Clara County search and try and trap the tegu, this lizard that's been out here for over a week. There are your palm-sized pet lizards, and then there's this, the Argentine black and white tegu, ranging in size from 2 to up to 5 feet. Hikers near Grant Lake first reported encountering the large lizard Sunday, June 1st, and sent these photos of it to the county parks department. Since then, park rangers have been on the hunt.
We are doing our absolute best to locate the Argentine black and white tegu, working with partner agencies to obviously locate and possibly rehome if we can.
Tuesday afternoon, our cameras were rolling as 6 park rangers surveyed Grant Lake, checking traps and laying out new ones. Tegus are known to love the water, which is why the rangers are focusing their search here. Tegus are not dangerous to people. In fact, they're legal as house pets, but they're not native to the area. Santa Clara County's interim chief ranger isn't sure how it ended up in the county park, but says it's possible it escaped from its owner or was abandoned.
They are dangerous to our ecosystem and our biodiversity here, but they're not a danger to humans. But they definitely do not belong here in county parks.
That's why it's important to stay
and ice after it.
Exploring near Grant Lake.
Of course, I'm not sure what
police.
I saw it, except go and tell somebody.
I'm just a bird watcher. I don't know about tegus.
If you see the tegu, tell the nearest park staff
I'm not a tegu watcher.
Or call the park office, and don't try to track it or capture it yourself.
Hey.
D. Grant County Park, Emma Goss, NBC Bay Area News.
I'm on the side of the lizard. Fuck it.
Yeah. Did you dig the Rangers with police on their vests in that? And just to bring it all full circle on Down Ballot tonight. Yeah, I'm with the tegu. I hope whatever the situation is, it seems like he's doing fine. Like wasn't agitated, wasn't like hungry, like was having a good life. So let him be. So not native. What's it going to do? Eat a bunch of flies, and whoever normally eats the flies doesn't get food, and then they die, and then whoever eats them
there's only
dies,
one of them, and it's not like it can reproduce and become invasive. I just say just leave it alone.
Right, like if you see an infestation, that would seem or a mass critical mass of tegus.
Did it build an illegal apartment? I don't think so.
Yeah, right. It's calling all its friends. Like, man, there's affordable. There's all sorts of amenities down here, man, in San Jose. Come to San Jose. Are you unhoused like me? Like you have no place to go? Come to San Jose. This is what some people think. Well, good on the. Good luck to the tegu. Good on our park rangers. God bless you. You don't make anywhere near enough money to do the job you do, and I'm sure you don't get thanked to the level that other law enforcement or public servants do. So good on you. Thank you for protecting our parks. There's no song about
the park ranger.
No, that's true. That's actually true. So at least there's that. I mean, they're mostly loved, just not recognized, I guess, would be the thing. So, so good on you for branding and getting out there. But just be nice to the tegu when you find him. And whoever obviously had this as a pet and lost track of it, like get your shit together too. We'll move you back up to get your shit together next week.
Well, that's the show. Do you, as always, you feel like reading it out?
Oh,
like
okay.
As if we have like a sheet somewhere.
Since you've had me doing this for so many shows in a row, I feel like I should have something written out because I seem like I either miss something or just do it differently every time, and I kind of want to get more consistent. So in that interest, I didn't write anything up this week, but I do want to wish everyone a wonderful week. We're going to be taking next week off from Down Ballot. We do this almost every Tuesday night at 7:30 Pacific. But stay tuned afterwards for public comment with producer
We're doing
Dave.
Shasta this week.
Ooh, Shasta during the red light. That's going to be super exciting. That's always spicy, so please stay tuned. Check out all the wonderful programming on Echoplex Media. You can find us at echoplexmedia.com or twitch.tv/echoplexmedia. And as always, get yourself vaxxed, wear a mask when it's appropriate, and maybe not when you're enforcing, ICE policies. And make sure you don't have to wear pants if you don't want to. It's entirely optional. The bad baby is walking around commando right now, so don't worry about that. We're going to leave you with some audible smoke. We hope you have a great week, 2 weeks, and we'll see you on the other side. Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later we're all singing Queen. Now get the fuck up on stage, man, like the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty and 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside?
I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside motherfuckers is rocking me, and outside shit we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily.
We do what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band.
Molly say that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming, and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do.
We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and